All right, let's talk about unlocking the German past tense. You know, it's one of those things that trips up almost everyone. But what if I told you it all boils down to a pretty simple code? Well, in this explainer, we're going to crack it together. You know that feeling, right? You're trying to talk about what you did yesterday in German, and it just feels like this giant puzzle with way too many pieces. Well, trust me, the solution is much simpler than you think, and we're going to lay out the whole blueprint right now. See, the secret isn't some massive, complicated grammar rulebook. Nope. It's actually one special verb form, a single puzzle piece that you pop right at the end of the sentence. And once you get this one piece right, believe me, the rest of the puzzle basically solves itself. So, what is this magic puzzle piece? Well, it's called the Participles, or the past participle. This little guy is the engine that runs the perfect tense, which, by the way, is just the fancy name for the past tense you're going to hear in like 99% of everyday German conversations. This is the one you need. So let's dive in with the golden rule. Think of this as the master key. It's the one that unlocks the past tense for the vast majority of German verbs, specifically the really predictable ones that we call weak verbs. And the formula itself, it's so beautifully simple. You just take the verb's core, its stem, then you just wrap it with two little pieces, a G at the beginning and a T at the end. That's literally it. G, stem, T. Let's see how it works. Okay, let's do one together with machen, which means to make or to do. Step 1, we find the stem by dropping the en, so we get mach. Easy. Step 2, add that prefix, ge, so now we have gemach. And the final step? Just stick the T on the end, gemacht. Done. Ich habe meine Hausaufgaben gemacht. I have done my homework. See? And this isn't a fluke. Look how consistent this pattern is. Kaufen, to buy, becomes gekauft. Spielen, to play, becomes gespielt. Hören, to hear, becomes gehört. It's like clockwork. You just apply the formula and you get the past tense. So simple. Okay, so that's our main rule. But what happens when the rule itself creates a word that's kind of awkward to say? Well, German has this really clever built-in fix for that, and it's all about making things sound better. So here's the fix. If a verb's stem already ends in a D or a T sound, trying to jam another T right onto the end of it, it's just clunky. So the language does something really smart. It just slips in a little E to smooth things out, turning the ending into etet. And what's cool is you can actually feel why this rule exists. Seriously, try it out loud right now. Say, gearbeitet. It's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? That little E in gearbeitet is like a bridge that helps the sound flow. It's just a helper. And when you see them side by side, it's super obvious. For a smooth stem like Spiel, that simple T ending works perfectly, gespielt. But for a stem like Arbeit, which ends on that hard T, you really need that ET bridge to get to gearbeitet. It's all about the flow. All right, every good system has its rule breakers, right? So let's meet our first group. These are verbs that totally reject our golden GE rule. But don't worry, their own rule is actually even easier. So what's their big secret? They just refuse to use the j prefix. For this entire category of verbs, you're just going to leave it out. The only question is, which verbs are they? Well, this group is super easy to spot. We're talking about any verb that ends in ieren. You'll probably notice a lot of these sound like English words. Think studieren or fotografieren. For these guys, the pattern is dead simple. Just add a te at the end. No gay allowed. And just look how clean this is. Fotografieren becomes fotografiert. Studieren becomes studiert. If you see that ieren ending, you know exactly what to do. Just tack on a T. That's it. So the Irian verbs aren't the only ones that don't like the gay prefix. There's actually one more group that follows that same no gay idea, but for a totally different reason. The logic here makes total sense, really. It's that adding another prefix would just be, well, redundant. This rule applies to verbs that already have their own built-in prefix that you can't separate. So if you see a verb that starts with an unstressed prefix like be, er, or ver, that's your signal. That prefix is already doing its job, so adding ge would just be overkill. You just skip it and add your te or e ending right after the stem. These are perfect examples. Bestellen already has be, so it just becomes bestellt. Besuchen
becomes besucht. Versuchen becomes versucht. The prefix that's already there stays put, and you just add the T. Simple.
Okay, wow. We've covered all the key parts of the code. So now, let's put them all together into the complete blueprint. This is going to be your go-to cheat sheet for the German past tense. And here it is, the entire system on one slide. This is your cheat sheet. Your default is always G to stem. If the stem ends in D or T, you add that little A to make it sound nice. If the verb ends in irin or already has a prefix like B or fer, you just drop the G. That's the whole code completely unlocked. And that's really it. What looks like this big, scary, tangled mess of grammar at first is actually just 4 clear logical patterns. Once you get these down, you can navigate the German past tense with so much more confidence. See? Not so scary after all. So there you have it. You've officially cracked the code. You now have the system, the blueprint, to form the past tense for literally thousands of German verbs. Congratulations. You have the tools now. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Using what you just learned, what's the very first sentence you want to build about something you have done? Go ahead, give it a try.